The gravel crunched under Lucas Hale's boots like bones snapping in the dead of night. Each step a gunshot echoing through the ghost town of his childhood. He hadn't seen this porch light in 12 years. Not since his father's fist had slammed the screen door shut behind him. The words "faggot" and "never come back" carving deeper than any knife. Now, at 27, with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder and a heart armored in New York City scar tissue, Lucas raised his fist to knock. Knowing the truth he'd unearthed in a lawyer's dusty office would shatter this facade like the storm clouds gathering overhead. But before the echo of his knuckles faded, the door flew open, and there stood Kenneth, taller than memory, broader in the shoulders, his hazel eyes widening like he'd seen a resurrection. "Luke, Jesus Christ, is that really you?" Kenneth's voice cracked, a mix of whiskey warmth and small-town drawl. His flannel shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal the faded tattoo of a compass rose on his chest, the one they'd inked together in a rebellious summer haze, back when secrets were just whispers between best friends stealing kisses in the cornfields. Lucas's throat tightened, the air thick with the scent of impending rain and the faint, metallic tang of regret. He hadn't planned this reunion. Not here, not like this, with the weight of his mother's old locket burning a hole in his pocket. "Yeah, it's me," he said, his voice rougher than the Mississippi he'd crossed 1,000 times in his dreams. "Miss me, Ken?" Kenneth laughed, but it was a hollow sound, like wind rattling empty silos. He stepped forward, enveloping Lucas in a hug that smelled of pine soap and engine grease, the kind of embrace that said I've waited without uttering a syllable. Lucas stiffened at first, old habits from years of dodging touches that felt like traps, but then he melted, just a fraction, his hands fisting in the back of Kenneth's shirt. God, he was solid. Real. Not some phantom conjured in late-night bars where loneliness tasted like cheap bourbon. They pulled apart, and Kenneth's gaze roamed Lucas's face, tracing the sharp angles honed by city life, the stubble shadowing his jaw, the faint scar from a bar fight in Brooklyn that he'd never quite explained. "You look good. Different. Come in, man. It's pouring cats and dogs out there already." He gestured inside, where the living room hadn't changed a lick. Same sagging couch, same faded American flag draped over the mantel like a shroud. The only addition was a stack of unopened mail on the coffee table, yellowed at the edges, and a half-empty bottle of Jack Daniels beside it. Lucas hesitated on the threshold, the ghosts of that final night clawing at his heels. 15 and terrified, backpack stuffed with nothing but a toothbrush and his mother's locket. He'd stumbled into the night, the slam of that door echoing louder than his sobs. His father, Harlan Hale, red-faced and bellowing scripture like bullets, had called him an abomination. His older brother, Travis, had just stood there in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes averted, like betrayal was a family heirloom passed down quiet. And his mother, Ellie Hale, with her soft southern lilt and eyes like faded denim, she'd whispered, "Go, baby. Just go," before turning away, her silence the deepest cut of all. Now, Harlan was gone. Cancer, quick and merciless, 6 months ago. The lawyer's letter had been curt. Property to be divided among heirs. Return for the reading. But it was the enclosed photo that had dragged Lucas back to Willow Creek, Iowa, the one of him and Ellie at the county fair, her arm around his shoulders, both grinning like the world was theirs. Tucked in the back, a note in her handwriting. "The truth is in the attic. Forgive me." What truth? The one they'd buried when she vanished a year after kicking him out. Chalked up to a nervous breakdown and a one-way ticket to God knows where? You gonna stand there all night? Or what? Kenneth teased, snapping Lucas from the memory. He led the way to the kitchen, flipping on the light that buzzed like a trapped hornet. The fridge hummed the same off-key tune, stocked with Bud Light and leftovers from the diner where Kenneth still slung hash browns at dawn. Coffee? Or something stronger? Harlan's stash is still kicking around. Coffee's fine. Lucas dropped his bag by the door, the thud echoing too loud. He leaned against the counter, watching Kenneth move with that easy grace, calloused hands pouring grounds into the machine, the muscles in his forearms flexing like they remembered every stolen touch. They'd been inseparable at 14. Lucas, the dreamer sketching comics in the margins of his notebooks. Kenneth, the fixer, always tinkering with engines in his dad's garage. That summer before everything shattered, under a harvest moon bloated with secrets, Kenneth had pressed Lucas against the rusted hood of a '72 Chevy, their breaths mingling hot and urgent. "I think I love you," Kenneth had murmured, and Lucas had believed it until the world decided otherwise. "So, you're back," Kenneth said, sliding a mug across the formica. His eyes held questions sharper than the steam rising between them. "For the will, or something else?" Lucas sipped, the bitterness grounding him. "Both. Found this." He pulled the locket from his pocket, letting it dangle like a noose. Inside, a tiny photo of Ellie, smiling serenely. "She left it for me." And a note about the attic. Kenneth's face paled, his fingers drumming the counter. "Attic? Harlan boxed that shit up years ago. Said it was junk, but there was a flicker, guilt, fear, in his eyes that made Lucas's gut twist. "You knew her, Ken. Better than most after I left. Did she ever say anything about why she left?" Kenneth looked away, toward the window where rain now lashed the panes like accusations. "She was broken, Luke. After that night. Harlan turned the house into a tomb. Travis got married, popped out kids. But Ellie, she just faded. One day, poof, gone." He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing. "I tried to look for her. Drove to Des Moines, even thinking maybe she hitched a ride. Nothing." Lucas set the mug down, the ceramic clinking like a gavel. "Bullshit. You stayed. You had choices. Why didn't you fight for me?" The words hung heavy, and Kenneth's jaw clenched, the compass tattoo peeking as he tugged at his collar. "I was a kid, same as you. Scared shitless. Harlan would have run me out too. But I never stopped." He cut off, stepping closer, close enough that Lucas could feel the heat radiating off him. "I wrote letters. To that P.O. box in Chicago you sent me once. Never got a reply. I never got them." Lucas's voice was a whisper, the betrayal sinking in like slow poison. Who had intercepted them? Travis? Harlan? The family that had erased him like a smudge on their perfect Christian facade? Kenneth reached out, his hand hovering near Lucas's cheek, thumb brushing the scar. "Then let me make it right. Stay. We'll dig through that attic together. Find whatever ghost she's chasing." Thunder rumbled outside, shaking the foundations, and Lucas nodded, the decision settling like the storm. But as Kenneth's lips brushed his forehead soft, tentative, a promise wrapped in forgiveness, Lucas wondered if some truths were better left buried, lest they unearth the boy he'd buried deepest. The next morning dawned gray and sodden, the kind of Midwest gloom that seeped into your bones. Lucas woke on the couch, a quilt thrown over him that smelled faintly of lavender. Ellie's scent, or maybe just wishful thinking. Kenneth was already up, clattering in the kitchen, whistling some off-key tune from their high school radio days. "Pancakes?" he called, and Lucas groaned, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Yeah. Extra syrup," he patted in, barefoot on the linoleum, and for a moment, felt normal. Domestic. Like the years hadn't carved canyons between them. They ate in companionable silence at first, forks scraping plates, rain pattering a backdrop. Then Kenneth broke it. "Attic after?" "Before Travis shows up for the reading this afternoon." Lucas's fork paused midair. Travis. The brother who'd chosen silence over solidarity. Who'd married Jenny from the Baptist choir and built a life on the farm next door, pretending Lucas had never existed. "He know I'm coming?" Kenneth shrugged, syrup glistening on his lip. "Doubt it." Harlan's will was vague. "Heirs present, but word travels fast in Willow Creek. By noon, the whole town's gonna know the prodigal son's back. Let 'em talk." Lucas forced a grin, but it felt brittle. "I'm not the scared kid anymore." After breakfast, they hauled the ladder from the garage, the air thick with dust motes and the ghosts of oil changes past. Kenneth steadied the rungs as Lucas climbed, his heart pounding louder than the creaks. The attic hatch swung open with a groan, revealing a cavern of shadows. Cardboard boxes labeled in Ellie's neat script, old photo albums yellowed with time, and in the corner, a trunk bound with rusted latches, the one Harlan had always forbidden them from touching. "Jackpot," Kenneth muttered, boosting himself up. They knelt by the trunk, Lucas's fingers trembling as he pried the lock. It gave way with a snap, and inside spilled a cascade of secrets. Letters tied with twine, a journal with a cracked leather cover, and at the bottom, a manila envelope stamped confidential from a Des Moines clinic. Lucas's breath hitched. He slid it open, pulling out medical records, Ellie's name at the top, dated a month before she vanished. Diagnosis: HIV positive. Prognosis: limited. His vision blurred, the words swimming. She was sick. That's why she left. To protect us? Or hide the shame? Kenneth peered over his shoulder, his face ashen. Harlan knew, and he let her go alone. The journal confirmed it. Pages filled with Ellie's looping handwriting. Harlan found out. Called it God's judgment. Said if the town knew, we'd be ruined. Travis begged me to fight it quiet like, but I can't. Not with Lucas already carrying their hate. I'll go where I won't poison them with my weakness. Poison. The word echoed, twisting Lucas's insides. His mother, dying in silence, exiled twice over, once for his truth, now for hers. Tears pricked hot, and he slammed the journal shut, the attic spinning. They lied. All of them. Kicked me out to cover their own rot. Kenneth pulled him close, arms a fortress against the collapse. Not all of us, Luke. I stayed because I couldn't leave the pieces of you behind. His lips found Lucas's then, fierce and forgiving, tasting of salt and second chances. They tumbled back against the boxes, hands rediscovering paths long overgrown, breaths sinking in the dim light filtering through the eaves. But as passion ebbed into quiet afterglow, A car door slammed below, tires on gravel, engine cutting off sharp. Voices rose. Jenny's shrill trill, Travis's low rumble. The will reading. And with it, the confrontation Lucas had steeled himself for, now laced with this new venom. He dressed quick, tucking the journal into his waistband like a concealed weapon. Kenneth lingered, eyes searching. "You ready for this?" "No," Lucas admitted, voice steady. "But I'm done running." Downstairs, the living room filled with awkward tension. Travis, broad as a barn door, his face a mask of forced neutrality. Jenny, clutching a casserole like a shield, her eyes darting to Lucas with pious pity. The lawyer, a wiry man named Hargrove from the next county over, cleared his throat, spectacles perched on his nose. "Mr. Hale's last will and testament," Hargrove intoned, unfolding the paper. "To Travis Hale, the family farm and all appurtenances. To Jennifer Hale, the household furnishings." A pause, heavy as the humid air. "And to Lucas Hale, the sum of $1 and the contents of the attic." Travis's head snapped up, jaw working. $1? What the hell? Harlan. Hargrove's eyes flicked to Lucas, apologetic. "There's a codicil. Your father wished for reconciliation. Said the attic holds the key." Jenny gasped, hand to her mouth. "That old junk? Ellie's things?" But nothing," Lucas cut in, voice like gravel under tires. He stepped forward, the journal heavy against his spine. "You gonna pretend you don't know what's up there? The letters? The records? Mom didn't leave because she wanted to. You drove her out. Same as you did me." Travis flushed beet red, rising to his full height. "Watch your mouth, boy. You ran off, shaman the family with your ways." "Harlan did what he had to. His ways." Kenneth snarled from the doorway, fists clenched. "You mean lovin' who he loves? Like a damn human?" The room erupted. Jenny weeping into her handkerchief, Travis bellowing about God's will, Hargrove sputtering for order. But Lucas held the floor, pulling the journal free, pages fluttering like wounded birds. "Read it, Travis. Read how you begged her to stay quiet about the AIDS. How you said it'd ruin the farm's reputation. You chose land over blood, twice." The word AIDS landed like a bomb, silence swallowing the chaos. Travis deflated, sinking onto the couch, face crumpling. We thought it was best. For everyone. She was suffering. Luke. And you, Harlan, said you'd come around, but then you never wrote. Because you intercepted the letters." Lucas spat, the pieces slotting vicious. Kenneth's confession from last night, letters to a P.O. box that never arrived. "You kept us apart. All of you." Jenny sobbed harder, but Travis just stared at his boots, the fight leaching out. "Forgive me," he whispered finally, the words cracking open like the attic trunk. "I was wrong. Scared. But she loved you, Luke. More than any of us." Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving a world washed clean but scarred. Lucas pocketed the $1, symbolic, bitter, and turned to Kenneth, who nodded, a silent "we're in this." As they left the house, Travis's voice trailed after, "Find her, if you can. For all of us." But finding Ellie wasn't the end. It was the spark. That night, in Kenneth's truck bed under a canopy of stars, blankets tangled around them. Lucas traced the compass on Kenneth's chest. "North," he murmured. "Always points home." Kenneth smiled, pulling him closer. "Then let's follow it." The road to Des Moines unspooled like a frayed nerve. Highway 35 cutting through fields of corn bowing under the weight of autumn's first frost. Lucas gripped the wheel of Kenneth's battered Ford, knuckles white, the journal riding shotgun like a co-pilot with too many ghosts. It had been 2 days since the will reading, 2 days of Travis's mumbled apologies echoing in his skull, of Jenny's casseroles left on the porch like peace offerings laced with guilt. But the trail in Ellie's journal ended in Des Moines, a clinic address scribbled in the margins, dated 2014, the year she vanished. "You think she's still there?" Kenneth asked, his boots propped on the dash, a thermos of coffee steaming between them. He looked rumpled and right, flannel sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms dusted with grease from a morning oil change at the garage. Lucas shrugged, eyes on the horizon where the sun bled orange into the sky. "If not, someone remembers." Nurses talk. He didn't voice the fear gnawing deeper, that she died alone, in some sterile room reeking of bleach and regret, her last breath cursing the son who'd never come back. Kenneth's hand found his thigh, a steady pressure that anchored the spin. "Whatever we find is closure. For her. For you." His thumb traced lazy circles, igniting sparks that traveled straight to Lucas's core. They'd fallen into this rhythm easy, too easy. Maybe nights blurring into mornings of coffee and confessions, bodies mapping familiar territories with new hunger. Last night, in the attic's dusty aftermath, Kenneth had whispered, "I never stopped," and Lucas had believed him, letting go in ways he hadn't since their teenage fumblings. Des Moines hit like a fever dream, skyscrapers piercing the flatland, the Des Moines River snaking silver through the city, alive with joggers and dogwalkers oblivious to the ache in Lucas's chest. The clinic was a squat brick building on the east side, tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop. The sign faded to Mercy Health Outreach. Inside, the air hummed with fluorescent buzz and the murmur of voices. Spanish, English, the universal language of desperation. The receptionist, a woman with a name tag reading Maria and eyes lined with coal, glanced up from her computer. "Can I help you?" Lucas cleared his throat, the words sticking. "I'm looking for information on a patient. Eleanor Hale. She was here around 2014. HIV care." Maria's expression softened, but her fingers hovered over the keyboard. "HIPAA? Hun. Can't just hand out records. You family? Son." The word tasted like ash. He slid the journal across the counter, open to a page of Ellie's scrawled symptoms. Fever, night sweats, the cough that won't quit. "She left this for me. I just need to know." Sympathy flickered in Maria's eyes. She disappeared into the back, returning with a social worker named Carla, a sturdy black woman in scrubs, her badge dangling like a talisman. "Eleanor Hale," Carla said, leading them to a cramped office smelling of stale coffee. "Strong woman. Came to us scared, but determined. Wanted treatment, but no insurance. We hooked her up with aid. Got her on antiretrovirals." Lucas leaned forward, pulse thundering. "Did she stay in the area?" Carla nodded, flipping through a file on her lap. "For a bit. Joined a support group here, queer folks mostly, folks living with the virus. Made friends. Then, 15, She moved. Said something about a fresh start in California. Left a forwarding address with the group leader. She scribbled it on a post-it P.O. Box 247, San Francisco. That's all I got. But she talked about you, Lucas. Said you were her light. That she'd write when she could. The light. Tears burned, unbidden, and Kenneth's hand squeezed his under the table. A lifeline. Thank you, Lucas managed, voice thick. For everything. Outside, the city pulsed around them, horns blaring, pedestrians weaving like threads in a loom. Kenneth pulled him into an alley, away from the rush, backing Lucas against the cool brick. Hey, he murmured, forehead to forehead. You're doing this. For her. Lucas nodded, but the dam broke then, sobs racking him silent and fierce. Kenneth held him through it, murmuring nonsense about shooting stars and second winds, until the grief ebbed to a dull roar. When they kissed, it was desperate, tongues tangling with the salt of tears, hands fumbling buttons in the shadows. I need you, Lucas gasped, and Kenneth obliged, pressing close, their bodies a bulwark against the unraveling. That night, they holed up in a roadside motel off I-80, the room papered in faded florals, neon vacancy sign bleeding red through the blinds. Lucas pored over the journal by lamplight, piecing together Ellie's odyssey, bus ticket stubs to Omaha, a job at a diner in Lincoln, the first letter she'd burned unsent to Travis. Tell Lucas I love him. Don't let Harlan poison that. Betrayal layered upon betrayal, but glimmers of defiance too. Met a woman today at group. Rosa. She laughs like summer rain. Makes me believe in tomorrows. Kenneth watched from the bed, shirtless, his skin gilded in the low glow. She sounds like you. Stubborn as hell. Lucas closed the book, crawling to him, straddling his hips. Like us. Their lovemaking was slow this time, exploratory, fingers tracing scars, lips mapping vulnerabilities. Kenneth's hands on his hips, guiding, grounding. Lucas's mouth on his throat, tasting pulse and promise. Afterward, tangled in sheets damp with sweat, Kenneth traced the locket's chain around Lucas's neck. San Fran. That's a haul. You goin'? Lucas corrected, the word solidifying something fragile. Yeah. The drive west blurred into a montage of heartland fading to Rockies. Endless prairies giving way to jagged peaks snow-capped and indifferent. Radio static spitting classic rock anthems. Springsteen wailing about highways and broken dreams. They talked in fits and starts. Kenneth confessing he'd dated women to fit the mold. Broken off an engagement last year when the lie choked him. Lucas unspooling New York tales. Bartending in Hell's Kitchen. Hookups in backrooms that left him hollow. The comic he'd self-published about a boy lost in the stars. Stardust Runaway, Kenneth said one evening, as they camped off Route 70, fire crackling under a sky diamond strewn. He'd bought a dog-eared copy at a truck stop, flipping pages by headlamp. This is you. The kid on the bus. Chasing galaxies. Lucas poked the embers, sparks rising like prayers. And the father who comes back? That's the lie I tell myself. Kenneth set the book aside, drawing him into the sleeping bag, their bodies aligning seamless. Not a lie. Not anymore. His kiss was fire-lit and fervent, hands roaming with intent, drawing moans from Lucas that echoed into the night. They moved together under the vastness, the world shrinking to skin and size, climax crashing like thunder over the plains. San Francisco arrived like a mirage. Fog-shrouded hills, cable cars clanging up slopes, the bay glittering under a sun that felt foreign after Iowa's muted palette. The P.O. box was in a post office near the Castro, rainbow flags snapping in the breeze, a district pulsing with queer history, murals of Harvey Milk gazing benevolent from alley walls. Lucas's heart raced as he slid the key Carla had forwarded. No. Wait. The group leader had held mail for years, forwarding what lingered. Rosa. The name from the journal. She met them at a coffee shop off Market Street, a Latina woman in her 50s with silver streaks in her dark hair, laugh lines etched deep. Lucas? Dios mío. You look just like her. She hugged him fierce, smelling of jasmine and patchouli. Then eyed Kenneth with approval. And who's this handsome devil? Kenneth. Friend. Lucas flushed, but Rosa winked. Lover. You mean? Ellie had a nose for good ones. Over lattes, she spilled. Ellie had landed in the Castro in 15, waitressing at a diner called the Salty Dog, joining the support group where she'd met Rosa. We were partners. For a time. She was fire, wrote poetry, volunteered at the AIDS memorial. But the virus. It wore her down. By 18, she was frail. Wanted to go home, but afraid. Home, Lucas echoed, grip tightening on his mug. Rosa nodded, eyes misting. Iowa. You. Said she'd write one last time, explain everything. But then, she pulled an envelope from her bag, sealed with wax, addressed in Ellie's hand. This came after she passed. Hospice in Oakland. February 2019. Quiet. Peaceful. She didn't suffer long. The envelope trembled in Lucas's fingers, the wax seal cracking like bone. Inside, a letter. My dearest Luke, if you're reading this, I've kept my promise not to burden you with my fading. Harlan's hate wasn't his. It was fear, passed down like a curse. Travis tried, in his way, but silence is its own betrayal. I left to live free, in a place where love isn't sin. Find yours, baby, and forgive us, if you can. The locket was always yours. Love, Mom. Tears blurred the ink, and Kenneth's arm around his shoulders was the only anchor. Rosa squeezed his hand. She was proud of you. Carried your comic clippings like treasures. They buried the letter at the AIDS memorial that afternoon, the granite pillars etched with names a somber choir. Lucas traced Ellie's, Eleanor Hale, 1965 to 2019, the stone cool under his palm. I forgive you, he whispered, the words a release, cathartic and raw. Kenneth stood sentinel, his presence a vow. But closure was a cruel tease. That night, in a Bernal Heights apartment, Rosa insisted they crash at. Lucas's phone buzzed. Travis. Found more letters. Yours to Ken. Come back. Please. The betrayal deepened. Not just intercepted mail, but hoarded, hidden like contraband. I have to go back, Lucas said, staring at the ceiling where shadows danced like accusations. Kenneth nodded, pulling him close. Then we finish it. The flight east was turbulence incarnate, mirroring the storm in Lucas's chest. Willow Creek welcomed them with a biting wind, leaves skittering like fleeing rats. Travis waited on the porch, older in the lamplight, his face haggard, Jenny absent, perhaps wisely. Luke, Travis's voice was gravel. I kept him. The letters. Thought. If I held on to proof, you'd return one day. That Harlan would see. See what? Lucas snapped. Journal and envelope clutched like talismans. That you chose him over me? Over her. Travis deflated, gesturing inside. On the kitchen table, a shoebox. Envelopes yellowed. Stamps canceled to Chicago, New York, San Francisco. Lucas's handwriting, Ken, I miss the stars. Ken, the city's too loud without you. And Kenneth's replies, scrawled in block letters, come home. I'll wait. You read them, Kenneth growled, snatching one, his face paling. Travis nodded, shamefaced. All. Harlan never knew. Burned the ones that hurt most. To protect you both. Protect, Lucas laughed, bitter. You stole my lifeline. Made me think he forgot me. The argument escalated. Voices rising like floodwaters. Travis defending his cage of good intentions. Lucas hurling accusations of cowardice. Kenneth a furious mediator caught in the crossfire. A vase shattered. Water blooming dark on the floor. Travis's fist clenched but never swung. Finally, exhaustion won. Travis sinking to a chair. Take him. And the farm if you want it. Sell it. Burn it. Just don't hate me forever. Lucas stared, the shoebox heavy in his arms. Hate was easy. Forgiveness, a mountain. I don't know if I can, he admitted. But for Mom, I'll try. Outside, under a moon silvering the fields, Kenneth lit a cigarette. Rare vice, born of stress. You okay? Lucas leaned into him, the night air crisp with harvest's end. Getting there, their kiss was smoke-tinged, urgent, a reaffirmation amid ruins. But the real climax brewed not in words, but in the unspoken. Travis's hidden cache included Ellie's unsent final plea to Harlan. Bring our boy home. Before it's too late for all of us. Too late for her, perhaps, but not for them. Winter clamped down on Willow Creek like a vice. Snow blanketing the fields in deceptive purity, burying the ruts of old wounds. Lucas and Kenneth had stayed. Temporarily, they'd said, holed up in the old house, turning the attic into a makeshift studio. Lucas sketched feverishly, pages filling with panels of fractured families. A boy silhouetted against a slamming door, a mother fading into fog-shrouded streets, lovers bridging chasms with tentative hands. Reclamation, he titled it, the comic a exorcism of sorts. Ellie's locket dangling from his neck like a muse. Kenneth worked days at the garage. Nights bringing home takeout from the diner, greasy burgers and pie slices that tasted of nostalgia. Their routines solidified. Mornings tangled in bed. Arguments over coffee about plot twists. Evenings by the fire where Kenneth read drafts aloud, his voice wrapping Lucas in warmth. But beneath the domesticity simmered unrest. Travis's tentative overtures. Voicemails left unanswered. The farm's shadow looming. Papers unsigned on the table. One blizzard night, as wind howled like banshees, Travis showed unannounced. Snow crusting his boots. A bottle of Maker's Mark in hand. Truce? He offered, holding it out like an olive branch. Lucas eyed him from the doorway, arms crossed. Kenneth hovered behind, silent sentinel. One drink, Lucas allowed, leading to the living room where flames crackled defiant. They sat awkward at first, glasses clinking, the whiskey burning paths to truths long damned. Travis stared into the fire, his profile etched with lines Lucas now saw as battle scars, years of Harlan's tyranny, the farm's relentless grind. "I was 18 when you came out," he started, voice low. "Harlan caught you and Ken in the barn. Remember that kiss?" Lucas stiffened, the memory sharp, hayloft shadows, Kenneth's laughter turning to gasps, Harlan's flashlight beam slicing the dark like judgment. "I covered for you," Travis continued. "Said it was Restlin. But he knew. And when he kicked you out, I froze. Thought if I pushed back, he'd turn on me too. On Jenny. Later. The kids." He swirled his glass, ice chiming. "Cowardice. Pure. But Ellie, she fought quiet. Slipped me that letter for you, the one about the attic. Made me promise to hold the mail. I did, thinkin' it'd bring you back someday." Kenneth leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "And when it didn't, you just let Harlan rot in his hate." Travis winced. "Tried talking to him after she left. On his deathbed, even." He cried, "Ken. First time I saw it. Said, I lost 2 kids that night, but pride. It was his God." The admission hung, heavy as the snow piling outside. Lucas's throat worked, anger fracturing into something softer. Pity, maybe, or the first thaw of understanding. "She forgave you, in her way. The journal. She wrote you were trying, even if you failed." Travis's eyes glistened, and he raised his glass. To try and dot. They drank, the burn sealing a fragile pact. But betrayal's echo lingered, manifesting in smaller cuts. Jenny's church friends whispering at the market, prodigals back, stirring trouble. Anonymous notes slipped under the door. "Go back to the city, sinner." Lucas burned them in the sink, flames licking paper, but the words scarred. Spring arrived tentative, mud sucking at tires, crocuses pushing through like hopeful fists. Lucas's comic found a small publisher in Chicago, Queer Press, hungry for stories of return, and with it, a book tour, readings in Des Moines, Omaha, even New York. "Come with," he urged Kenneth one evening, as they walked the back 40, wildflowers nodding in the breeze. Kenneth hesitated, kicking a clod of dirt. "Garage is steady. Folks count on me." But his eyes betrayed the pull, the compass tattoo itching for direction. Lucas stopped, turning him by the shoulders. "This is our story too. Don't make me write the sequel alone." The kiss that followed was meadowsweet, hands in hair, bodies swaying to an invisible rhythm. They made love there, on a blanket spread under the open sky, the earth firm beneath them, wind whispering approvals. Kenneth's gasps mingled with birdsong, his release a vow, "I'm in." All the way, the tour kicked off in May, a whirlwind of hotel rooms and spotlit confessions. Des Moines drew a crowd. Rosa flew in, front row, cheering like a mama bear. Omaha brought tears, a teen clutching Stardust Runaway, whispering, "I'm scared to tell my dad." Lucas signed his copy with "You're brave. Don't run." New York was homecoming and heartbreak, old haunts in the village, where he'd drowned doubts in dive bars, now reframed through Kenneth's steady gaze. But midway, in Kansas City, conflict erupted. A reading at an indie bookstore, Q&A flowing open. A man in the back row stood, mid-40s, salt and pepper beard, eyes like Harlan's. "Your story's pretty," he drawled, voice dripping Midwest skepticism. "But what about the family left behind? The ones cleaning up the mess?" Murmurs rippled, and Lucas's pulse spiked. "The mess?" he echoed, microphone hot in his grip. "You mean the silence? The kicking out? That's not mess. That's murder by neglect." The man, identified later as Cousin Roy, Harlan's brother's boy, scoffed. Harlan was a good man. Church deacon. Your lifestyle broke him. Kenneth, seated beside, surged to his feet. "Lifestyle? This love? You ignorant prick." And Harlan broke himself with hate. Security escorted Roy out amid shouts. But the venom lingered, poisoning the after-party buzz. Back in the hotel, Lucas paced, fury boiling. "They'll never get it. Never." Kenneth blocked his path, hands on hips. "Then don't give him power. Your words tonight? They hit that kid in Omaha. That's the win." Lucas deflated, collapsing onto the bed. What if it's not enough? Vulnerability cracked open, raw and rare. Kenneth knelt, unlacing his shoes with deliberate care. "It's enough for me." He rose, stripping slow, a striptease of reassurance. Their joining was tender, almost reverent, Kenneth topping for the first time, his weight a comforting press, whispers of mine and home punctuating thrusts. Lucas arched, lost in the rhythm, climax a wave of release that washed out to the shore. Summer swelled, humid and heavy, the farm demanding attention. Travis proposed a compromise. Co-ownership, Lucas taking the back acreage for a studio, Kenneth running a garage annex. "Family land," Travis said over beers on the porch, Jenny nodding tentative beside him. "Make it mean something new," Lucas mulled it, the idea seductive, a root system after years adrift. But betrayal's ghost whispered caution. What if they turned again? The climax crested in August, heat wave mirage shimmering the air. Lucas returned from a signing in Chicago to find the house ransacked. Drawers yanked, papers strewn, his comic proofs shredded on the floor. No forced entry. The back door ajar, a window latch slipped. Cousin Roy's work, or some proxy for the town's simmering grudge. Kenneth met him at the gate, face thunderous, Travis's truck already there. "Bastards," Kenneth spat, pulling Lucas into a crushing hug. "We're pressing charges." Inside, the chaos. Ellie's locket gone from the nightstand, the shoebox of letters gutted, confetti of their past. Travis knelt, sifting debris, his voice muffled. "Roy," he called last week, ramblin' about protectin' the name. I told him to shove it. Rage ignited, Lucas storming out to his truck, keys jangling. "I'm ending this." They tracked Roy to his trailer on the outskirts, a double-wide sagging under satellite dishes, American flags limp in the heat. He answered shirtless, beer in hand, smirk fading at the trio on his stoop. "What the? You crossed a line," Lucas snarled, shoving the door wider, stepping in uninvited. The trailer reeked of stale smoke and resentment. Walls papered in yellowed news clippings, Harlan's obituary circled, headlines about traditional values. Roy backed up, bluster cracking. "Just teachin' a lesson. Family honor." "Honor." Kenneth lunged, fist cocked, but Travis grabbed his arm, holding firm. Lucas advanced, Voice steel. Honor is lying? Stealing from the dead? Mom's gone because of your kind of honor. Hiding her illness. Shaming her son. He pulled a crumpled proof from his pocket, the cover of Reclamation. Him and Ellie back to back. Defiant. This is honor. Telling the truth. Roy's face twisted. Defiance crumbling to something pathetic. Harlan was my blood too. You parade this. Filth. It shames us all. It's not filth, Travis interjected, surprising them all. It's life. And I won't let you poison mine anymore. He turned to Lucas, eyes earnest. Call the cops. Or don't. But this ends. Roy deflated, slumping onto a lazy boy, muttering apologies that rang hollow. They left without charges, Lucas's mercy, a deliberate choice, but the locket, found later in the grass by the trailer, glinting like absolution. That night, storm clouds gathered, lightning forking the sky as they reclaimed the house. Lucas strung the locket around Kenneth's neck, a talisman shared. For luck, he said, and Kenneth grinned, pulling him down to the floor amid the wreckage. Their lovemaking was primal, fueled by Fury's afterburn, bodies slick with sweat, nails raking backs, cries swallowed in thunder. Kenneth inside him, deep and driving, Lucas's legs wrapped tight, the world narrowing to friction and fervor. Never again, Kenneth growled with each thrust, and Lucas believed, shattering in ecstasy that rivaled the tempest outside. Dawn broke washed clean, the air electric with ozone and possibility. Fall painted Willow Creek in fire, oaks ablaze crimson, maples shedding gold like confetti at a reluctant farewell. Lucas's comic launched to quiet acclaim, reviews in The Advocate calling it a gut punch of queer Midwestern resilience, queer bookstores stacking copies beside Alison Bechdel's tomes. Readings drew crowds now, teens with wide eyes, elders nodding sagely, and with success came the itch, New York calling, editors whispering graphic novel deals, the city's siren song of anonymity and ambition. Kenneth felt it too, the pull. Nights, as leaves scratched the windows like impatient fingers, he'd trace Lucas's sketches, his touch lingering. This one's us, he'd say, pointing to a panel of two figures silhouetted against a horizon, hands entwined. But his eyes held shadows, the garage thriving under his hands, Travis relying on his mechanical wizardry for the farm's aging tractors, roots delving deeper than he'd admit. The conflict simmered subtle at first. A delayed flight from a Minneapolis signing, Lucas arriving home past midnight to find Kenneth asleep on the couch, TV flickering infomercials. Missed you, Kenneth mumbled, stirring, but the words carried an undercurrent. Too much? Lucas dropped his bag, kneeling to kiss him awake proper. Missed you more. Their reunion was heated, clothes shed in a trail to the bedroom, Kenneth's mouth mapping collarbones, hips grinding urgent. But midway, Lucas's phone buzzed. Agent, deal offer, and the rhythm faltered, Kenneth's thrusts slowing to a halt. Go on, he urged, rolling off, chest heaving. Answer it. Lucas silenced it, pulling him back. Later, but the seed was planted, doubt sprouting thorns. Travis noticed. Over Sunday potluck at the farmhouse, Jenny's spread of fried chicken and apple crisp, kids chasing fireflies in the yard. You leavin' us? He asked direct, passing the potatoes, his tone lighter than before, brotherhood tentative but building. Lucas forked a bite, evading. Tours winding down. Thinkin' on it. Kenneth, across the table, speared his chicken silent, jaw tight. Later, washing dishes side by side, he cornered Lucas by the sink. "Tour windin' down? Or you chasin' the next big thing?" The word stung, laced with insecurity Lucas hadn't clocked. "What? No. This is home now. You? The farm. Is it?" Kenneth dried his hands rough, towel snapping. "New York's got that pull. Lights. Crowds. I see it in your eyes when you talk panels and deadlines." Lucas reached, but Kenneth stepped back, the space yawning. "Ken, it's not. Forget it." He stalked out, leaving Lucas with suds and a sinking heart. The betrayal cut fresh, not Travis's old sins, but this new fracture. Kenneth's fear mirroring his own past abandonments, projecting the kick-out onto their fragile now. Lucas gave space, but nights stretched cold. Kenneth crashing on the couch, the bed vast and empty. Climax brewed in the harvest moon, full and bloated, casting silver on the stubble fields. Lucas found the shoebox of letters in the attic, reborn now as studio, canvases leaning like sentinels, and rifled through, seeking solace in ink-faded pleas. One caught his own, post-kick-out, to Kenneth. "If you knew how bad it hurts, you'd come find me." Guilt twisted, had he ever given Kenneth the same grace? He drove to the garage after midnight, the bay doors ajar, fluorescent hum spilling out. Kenneth hunched over a carburetor, grease-streaked, radio crooning Patsy Cline low and lonesome. "Go away. Luke." "No." Lucas leaned in the doorway, arms crossed. "We talk. Now." Kenneth wiped his hands, turning slow, eyes stormy. "What's to say? You're gonna bolt. Like last time. Last time I was a kid, runnin' scared. This?" Lucas stepped closer, the air thick with oil and ozone. "This is choice. And I choose you. But you gotta trust it." Kenneth laughed, bitter. "Trust? After your ma's letters, the farm, hell, even Travis is tryin'. But you? One whiff of city lights, and poof, the accusation landed, and Lucas's temper flared. "You think I'm Harlan? Kickin' out what's inconvenient." He shoved the workbench, tools clattering. "I stayed, Ken. Built this with you. But if you can't see past your fear." "Fear," Kenneth roared, closing the gap, faces inches. "I'm terrified you'll wake up and realize this town's too small for your fire. That I'm just the guy who waited, not the one who burns with you." The rawness cracked them open, breaths mingling hot, and then, inevitable, lips crashed, the kiss a battlefield of teeth and tongue, hands fisting shirts. They grappled, anger alchemizing to desire, Kenneth hoisting Lucas onto the workbench, tools scattering like stars. "Don't leave," he growled, yanking belts free, zipper rasping. "Never," Lucas gasped, legs hooking his waist, urging him in. The penetration was rough, claiming, Kenneth's thrusts punishing and pleading, Lucas meeting each with hips that begged forgiveness. The garage echoed their symphony, metal creaking, skin slapping, moans swallowed in the din of a revving heart. Climax hit like a seized engine, shuddering release leaving them wrecked, foreheads pressed, sweat mingling. "I love you," Kenneth whispered, the words a dam breaking. "God, I love you." Lucas cupped his face, thumbs brushing tears. "Love you back. And I'm staying. Studio here, tour's short. We build together. Dawn found them tangled on a tarp amid wrenches, the world reborn in rose light. But resolution was fleeting. Word of the comic's success drew vultures. A producer from LA, sniffing biopic rights, offering flights and meetings. Lucas demurred, but the seed of temptation rooted. Travis became unlikely ally, pulling Lucas aside one crisp October morn, rakes in hand as they cleared the orchard. Heard about the movie talk. His swing was methodical, leaves flying. Don't let it take you like it took her. Her, Ellie. Dreamed big, wanted to be a writer, you know. Sent stories to magazines, got rejections that crushed her. Harlan said stay put. Farm needs you. She did, till she couldn't. Travis paused, leaning on his rake. Don't repeat it. With Ken, the advice landed paternal, unbidden wisdom from the brother once villain. Lucas nodded, pocketing it. November brought Thanksgiving, first in years without fracture. Jenny's table groaned, turkey golden, pies steaming, kids' laughter a bomb. Travis carved, passing plates with a grin. To family, he toasted, and Lucas clinked glasses, the word encompassing now blood, chosen, mended. But undercurrents swirled. Post-dinner, as pie crumbs dusted laps, the producer called deals on the table. Come to LA. 1 week. Lucas excused himself, stepping onto the porch where Kenneth nursed a beer, stars pricking the velvet sky. LA? Kenneth's tone was even, but his grip tightened on the bottle. Just talk. Scout locations. Maybe. Lucas sat beside, thigh to thigh. Come with. Make it ours. Kenneth's laugh was soft, resigned. Garage can't close. Harvest rush. Silence stretched. Then go. But come back. The promise hung, and Lucas pulled him up, leading to the barn memories echo. Hay bales soft under them, moonlight slanting through slats. They undressed deliberate, savoring. Kenneth's mouth on his chest, reverent. Lucas's hands in his hair, guiding. Entry was slow, intimate, eyes locked, breaths synced, each rock a reaffirmation. Mine, Lucas murmured, and Kenneth's response was a hitch, a spill of yours as they crested together, the night holding them gentle. LA was sun-bleached glamour, palm-lined boulevards, agents in Ray-Bans pitching Oscar bait. Lucas toured studios, nodded at scripts that sanitized his pain, less AIDS, more romance. Temptation whispered, fame, escape from small-town stares. But nightly calls to Kenneth grounded him. Miss your voice, fixed the old Chevy today, thought of our first ride. Homesickness bloomed, sharp as sagebrush. Betrayal struck subtle, a tabloid snippet, queer comic prodigy eyes Hollywood exit from Heartland hunk. Leaked by the producer, painting Kenneth as quaint obstacle. Lucas's agent texted, play it up. Drama sells. Rage propelled his return. Flight turbulence a mirror to turmoil. Willow Creek's chill bit welcome. Snow flurries dancing. He found Kenneth at the garage, hood up on a pickup, oblivious to the storm brewing. Read it. Lucas thrust his phone, the article glaring. Kenneth glanced, shrugged. Small potatoes. It's bullshit. Painting you like the sidekick? Kenneth slammed the hood, wiping hands. Welcome to fame, Luke. But if that's the cost. He trailed off, hurt flickering. No cost. Lucas grabbed his wrist, pulling to the office, a cramped space smelling of invoices and resolve. Door locked. He pushed Kenneth against the desk. Kiss fierce. You're the story. The heart. Clothes shed hasty. Kenneth's back to the desk. Lucas dropping to knees, mouth hot, taking him deep, worshipful. Kenneth's hands fisted hair. Groans ragged. Fuck. Luke. The release was swift, salty on Lucas's tongue. But he rose, turning Kenneth, bending him forward. Slick fingers prepped, then thrust, possessive, deep, the desk creaking protest. Feel that, Lucas panted, angling for that spot. You're everything, Kenneth bucked back, meeting each drive, climax ripping a cry that echoed. They slumped, bent, laughter bubbling through aftershocks. Stay, Kenneth whispered later. In bed, snow tapping windows. I will, Lucas vowed. But the producer's follow-up email lingered. Final offer. Decide soon. Winter's grip loosened grudging. February's thaw turning roads to slush, mirroring the melt in Lucas's resolve. The LA offer sat unsigned, a paper specter on the desk, its promises of spotlights and seven figures clashing with the quiet profundity of Willow Creek mornings. Coffee brewing, Kenneth's sleepy kisses, the farm's rhythm pulsing steady. Travis had taken to dropping by unannounced, tools in hand, kids in tow, offering help that felt like amends. Fixing the studio roof, teaching Lucas to mend fences. Stories of Ellie's youth spilling like cider from a jug. You're good for him, Travis told Lucas one dusk, as they stacked firewood, axes buried in logs. Ken was half alive before. Now, solid. Lucas swung, splinters flying. Mutual, but doubt niggled. Was he tethering Kenneth, or himself? The betrayal's final coil tightened mid-March. Spring peepers chorusing from the ditches. A letter arrived, postmarked LA. No return address. Inside, a check for 10 grand. Scrawled note, walk away clean. Let him find a real life. For the family. Cousin Roy's hand, no doubt, funded by whatever grudge-fueled network lingered. Lucas's blood boiled, crumpling it, storming to the farmhouse. Travis answered, face paling at the paper. Roy again? Christ. I'll handle it. No. Lucas's voice was ice. We end this. Together. The confrontation convened at dawn. Neutral ground. The old fairgrounds. Midway rusted. Cotton candy ghosts in the wind. Roy arrived in his F-150. Travis's truck idling nearby. Kenneth at Lucas's side, united front. What now? Roy sneered, leaning on his tailgate, but his eyes darted, bravado thin. Family, Lucas started, stepping forward, the locket glinting at his throat. You invoke it like a weapon. But this, he held the check aloft. This is poison. Like what you did to Mom, whispers, judgments. She died free, Roy. Away from your kind of care, Roy shifted, glancing to Travis. 'Cause he's twisting it. Harlan wouldn't. Harlan was wrong. Travis cut in, voice thunder. About Luke. About Ellie. And you, peddling this crap? You're the shame now. Kenneth stepped up, arm around Lucas's waist. We're building something here. Love. Legacy. You can't buy that out. Roy's facade cracked, shoulders slumping. Just Wanted to fix what he broke. He nodded to the check. Take it. Start over. Lucas tore it slow, letting shreds flutter like snow. We're already started. No blows, no cops, just truth, laid bare under the rising sun. Roy drove off silent, tailpipe coughing defeat. Travis clapped Lucas's shoulder. Proud of you, brother. The word landed solid, familial, a bridge crossed. Back home, the thaw deepened. Lucas signed the farm papers, co-ownership, the back 40 his studio, a queer arts retreat in Ellie's honor. Kenneth expanded the garage, adding an artist-in-residence bay for visiting creators. Their life wove richer. Summer fairs where Lucas sold comics, kids clamoring for sketches, fall harvests with Travis's clan, laughter eclipsing old silences. But romance's flame required tending. One June eve, full moon again, anniversary of their barn reunion, Kenneth blindfolded Lucas, leading him to the back field. Trust me, he murmured, tying off, hand warm in his. The blindfold slipped, revealing lanterns strung in trees, a picnic blanket laden with Ellie's recipes, fried okra, cornbread, pie under glass. A boombox played their playlist, Springsteen, to Patsy, to queer anthems pulsing defiant. For us, Kenneth said, pulling him down. No running. They ate slow, stories flowing, dreams of road-tripping the comic tour in an airstream, hitting queer fests coast to coast. Wine loosened tongues, then limbs, kisses deepening, hands exploring under stars. Kenneth laid Lucas back, trailing mouth south, worship at his navel, then lower. Beautiful, he breathed, taking Lucas in, slow and thorough, tongue-swirling ecstasy. Lucas arched, fingers in hair, release building title. But Kenneth rose, slicking fingers, entering gentle, missionary intimate, faces close, breaths mingling. Love you, he whispered with each measured thrust, eyes locked, building to a crescendo that shattered them synced, cries blending with crickets. After, wrapped in blankets, Lucas traced the compass. Points true now, humanistic close, no tidy bows, but growth. Lucas's next comic, Roots and Runaways, wove Ellie's letters into panels, dedicating to the ones who stayed and the ones who returned. It won awards, but success stayed grounded, funds for the retreat, scholarships for queer Iowa kids. Travis softened fully, coming out to them one harvest night. Always knew, deep down. Just buried it. No fanfare, just acceptance. Beers clinking. Years blurred. A commitment ceremony under the harvest moon. Rings etched with compasses. Adoptions talked. A future family sketched. Betrayal scarred but healed. Truths reclaimed not in vengeance, but in living loud. Lucas, at 35, stood on the porch, once slammed shut, watching Kenneth chase toddlers through the yard, Travis grilling nearby. The boy kicked out at 15 gazed out. Whole. The truth they'd hidden? Not shame, but love enduring, American as apple pie and endless roads. And in the locket, Ellie's photo smiled on.